attention. There comes a moment in every person's life when a message arrives that refuses to wait. And if you are hearing these words right now, it means life is placing a responsibility on your path, one you can no longer ignore. I am Shi Hengyi, and today I want to speak directly to those who call themselves chosen, not because of destiny but because of discipline. Many people think being chosen is a gift, but in the Shaolin tradition, it is the exact opposite. It is a burden you earn through consistency, clarity, and inner strength. It is the weight of choosing yourself every single day, even when comfort tries to pull you back into old patterns. Listen closely. In this video, you will learn why true mastery has nothing to do with talent or luck. You will understand the principle that many overlook. Ordinary people rise to extraordinary levels when they commit to a daily practice that sharpens the mind, strengthens the body, and steadies the spirit. I will share the lesser-known truth taught inside the temple walls, how discipline becomes the bridge between who you were and who you must become. You will also hear about a mental shift that changes everything, the moment you stop waiting for signs and start creating your own path. This is the difference between potential and realization, between wandering and purpose. If you stay until the end, you will walk away with a message that can alter your direction, sharpen your awareness, and remind you of the strength that is already waiting inside you. Your journey toward mastery begins here. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss the teachings meant to guide your next step. Sometimes the smallest shift inside the mind can outweigh the strongest force outside the body. I learned this lesson not during a grand ceremony, but on a quiet morning in the training hall, when my master asked me to strike a wooden post. I used all my strength. The sound was loud, the pain was sharp, and he only shook his head. Then he said, "Your body moved, but your yi did not." In Shaolin teaching, yi is the leader, the intention, the quiet command that tells the body what to do, and the spirit how to follow. Without yi, strength is wild and unfocused. With yi, even a simple movement becomes precise, powerful, and meaningful. I remember watching older monks train. Their bodies appeared relaxed, almost effortless, yet every strike carried depth, direction, and clarity. They were not thinking about hitting harder. They were thinking about where the energy should go and why the movement mattered. Their intention shaped their strength. Their strength never controlled their intention. When yi guides action, there is no wasted motion, no scattered energy, no inner conflict. There is only alignment. This is why we train slowly before we train fast. We learn to place the mind inside the movement, to breathe into the muscles, to feel the path of energy before releasing it. When you practice this, something changes. Your actions become deliberate. Your presence deepens. Your results multiply. People often believe power comes from force. But force without intention cracks, collapses, and drains. Intention without force, however, prepares the ground for true mastery. It shapes the direction of your life the same way it shapes the direction of a strike. Master your intention, and your actions follow. Master your mind, and your life opens in ways strength alone could never achieve. There is a story told within the temple walls about a young monk who could break bricks with his hands, but could not sit in silence for even a single minute. His strength impressed visitors, yet his spirit trembled at the slightest discomfort. One day, an elder monk said to him, "Your body is loud, but your mind is weak and your spirit is asleep. This is not power. This is imbalance." In Shaolin, we never separate the body from the mind, nor the mind from the spirit. Training is not about becoming strong in one area and fragile in another. It is about weaving all parts of yourself into one unified presence. When you move, the mind should be steady. When you breathe, the spirit should be calm. When you act, your intention should be clear. Physical practice teaches discipline. Meditation teaches awareness. Ethical cultivation teaches direction and character. When these three grow together, self-mastery becomes natural, like a river finding its path. There were days in the temple when our training felt endless. Our legs burned, our breath shook, our thoughts scattered, but the purpose was never just strength. It was to understand how the body responds under pressure, how the mind behaves in discomfort, and how the spirit either rises or collapses when confronted with challenge. Bit by bit, you learn to hold yourself steady, you learn to breathe through resistance, you learn to act from a place of clarity rather than fear. True power comes from alignment. A strong body without a steady mind becomes reckless. A sharp mind without a grounded spirit becomes restless. A peaceful spirit without discipline becomes passive. When all three align, you move through the world with intention and quiet authority. You no longer fight against yourself. You move as one complete being. There was a time when many newcomers to the temple believed discipline was a cage. They thought waking before sunrise, repeating movements hundreds of times, and practicing breathwork day after day were forms of imprisonment. One student even asked an elder, "Why must we follow all these rules?" The elder smiled and replied, "Because only through discipline can you eventually choose your own way." This is the heart of an ancient truth. Discipline is not restriction. Discipline is liberation. In the beginning, the structure feels heavy. The repetition feels endless. The routines feel demanding, but slowly something shifts. The movements that once felt forced begin to flow naturally. The breath that once felt shallow deepens on its own. The mind that once resisted becomes steady and clear. What once felt like a burden becomes a source of power. Consistent practice, whether a form, a breath sequence, or a daily ritual, teaches you to stay present. It strengthens your ability to remain calm when life becomes chaotic. It sharpens your awareness so you can see a situation clearly instead of reacting blindly. Most people move through life controlled by impulse. A thought appears, they follow it. An emotion rises, they obey it. Pressure arrives, they break or explode. But with discipline you create space. Space to breathe before responding. Space to feel an emotion without becoming it. Space to choose a path that aligns with your values instead of your fears. This is the true freedom the elders spoke of. Not the freedom to do anything you want in the moment, but the freedom to act with clarity in every moment. Through discipline, you gain control over your inner world. And with that control, your life is no longer shaped by reaction, but by intention. There is a teaching whispered during early morning meditation in the temple. The sky never worries about the clouds passing through it. At first it sounds simple, almost poetic. But with time you realize it holds a profound truth about the nature of the mind. The mind is vast, open, and ever-present like the sky. Thoughts are temporary visitors, clouds drifting across its surface. Some are light and harmless, others are heavy and dark, but none of them define the sky itself. Many people live as if every thought is a command. A worry appears and they become anxious. A memory rises and they become sad. An idea flashes and they immediately chase or resist it. This is what happens when you identify with thoughts instead of observing them. During temple training, we were taught to sit in silence and simply watch. At first, it was difficult. Thoughts pulled in every direction: regret, doubt, desire, fear. But slowly, through daily discipline, a shift began. Thoughts continued to appear, but their attachment weakened. Instead of being dragged by them, we learned to let them pass, just as clouds pass without touching the true sky. When you observe your thoughts without merging with them, clarity returns. Your breath deepens. Your inner space opens. You stop reacting to every mental movement and start acting from presence. This skill becomes especially powerful in moments of conflict or uncertainty. Instead of letting fear push you into rash decisions, or letting distractions scatter your attention, you pause, you watch, you allow the thought to reveal itself and then fade. And in that small pause, wisdom enters. By learning to watch your thoughts like clouds, you reclaim the stability of the sky within you, calm, spacious, unshaken by whatever passes through. There was a period in temple life when many students believed the answer to every challenge was more effort, more strikes, more stances, more hours. Some pushed themselves until their hands shook and their breath grew uneven. One evening, an elder found a young monk collapsed from exhaustion. Instead of praising him, the elder said, You are not strong, you are unbalanced. A blade sharpened without pause will break. In Shaolin wisdom, effort and rest are partners, not opponents. Each one gives meaning to the other. Intense training builds strength, discipline, and resilience. Mindful rest restores clarity, energy, and inner stability. When these two rhythms work together, the body grows, the mind clears, and the spirit becomes steady. Effort without rest leads to burnout. Rest without effort leads to stagnation. Mastery lives between these two extremes. There were days when training demanded every ounce of focus, stances held until the legs trembled, forms repeated until sweat soaked the floor. But the next morning might begin with slow breathing, gentle stretching, or quiet meditation by the courtyard trees. This wasn't inconsistency. It was intentional rhythm. The chosen ones understand this rhythm intuitively. They know when to push their edges and when to step back. They know that the body speaks in signals, that the mind needs stillness as much as challenge, and that the spirit grows during both movement and pause. Rest is not laziness, it is preparation. Effort is not struggle, it is expression. When you balance the two, something shifts inside you. Energy flows instead of forcing. Discipline becomes steady instead of harsh. Growth becomes continuous instead of chaotic. To walk the path of mastery, learn to honor both the fire that drives you and the quiet that heals you. This rhythm is what keeps your strength alive. In the quiet halls of the temple, there is a lesson that cannot be learned through strength or technique alone. It is taught through observation, reflection, and the willingness to face oneself without excuse. Many young monks arrive blaming circumstances, the weather, the harshness of training, or the mistakes of others. But the elders remind them, the only life you can truly govern is your own. Self-responsibility is the heart of the Shaolin spirit. It begins with owning your inner story, every fear, every desire, every failure, and every victory. The moment you stop pointing outward and start looking inward, a shift occurs. You recognize that your reactions, your choices, and your path are yours and yours alone. One student struggled with anger, blaming a rival for every misstep in practice. He was frustrated, bitter, and trapped in repetition. Only when he began to examine his own mind, to admit that his frustration came from attachment and expectation, did his energy transform. The anger lost its grip, and his movements became fluid. By accepting responsibility, he became the author of his own progress. This is the essence of true freedom. Victimhood may feel familiar and safe, but it chains you to circumstance. Authorship demands courage, discipline, and honesty. It asks you to meet your inner weaknesses without judgment and to celebrate your strengths without arrogance. When you take ownership of your inner story, you reclaim control over your actions. You understand that challenges are not punishments but mirrors. Success is not luck, but the reflection of deliberate effort and conscious choice. To live with self-responsibility is to navigate life with clarity and purpose. It is to act from strength rather than reaction, to speak from truth rather than impulse, and to move forward knowing that the power to shape your destiny always lies within. In the stillness before dawn, when the temple is quiet and the air feels heavy with possibility, reflection becomes a practice as essential as breath. Many believe self-awareness is something that simply appears over time. In truth, it is earned through intention, through the discipline of looking inward without flinching. Meditation, forms, and daily rituals are not just exercises. They are mirrors. Each movement, each breath, each repetition asks a question. Who are you in this moment? What drives your action? The body becomes a teacher, revealing tension and habit. The mind becomes a compass, highlighting attachment, fear, and desire. The spirit becomes the witness, quietly observing without judgment. One monk spent years mastering physical forms, but remained unaware of the turbulence in his thoughts. He was strong outwardly, but reactive and scattered inwardly. Only when he committed to reflection, pausing after each session to ask what motivated him, where his heart wandered, and what he resisted, did his training gain depth. His movements became precise, his reactions measured, and his presence steady. Reflection is not passive. It demands honesty and courage. It asks that you track the invisible currents of emotion and thought that shape your behavior. By regularly checking in, you notice the subtle shifts before they become patterns. You see frustration rising before it erupts. You recognize distraction before it steals your focus. You understand desire before it drives impulsive choices. Through this active awareness, you gain control over your inner landscape. You learn to navigate life with intention rather than habit. You begin to act from clarity, not impulse. And over time, reflection becomes a rhythm, a quiet thread, weaving together body, mind, and spirit, ensuring that every step forward is grounded, deliberate, and aligned with the path of mastery. There is a quiet force that flows through every living being, subtle yet profound, often unnoticed until trained to reveal itself. In Shaolin, we call it qi, the life energy that underlies every breath, every movement, and every thought. It is neither magic nor metaphor. It is a principle of nature, guiding the body, mind, and spirit when cultivated with care and discipline. During early mornings, monks gather for qigong, performing slow, deliberate movements synchronized with the breath. At first, it feels simple, almost meditative, but each motion is a conversation with the body's internal currents. A shift in posture, a deepened inhalation, or a gentle focus on the core awakens awareness of energy that was always present but unnoticed. A young practitioner once struggled with fear and uncertainty. His movements were tense, his mind scattered. With daily practice, he began to sense qi flowing through his arms and legs, settling in his chest, harmonizing with each inhalation and exhalation. Gradually, his posture softened, his thoughts calmed, and a quiet confidence arose, not from force, but from the subtle power within. Qi does not operate in isolation. It bridges the physical, the mental, and the spiritual. When cultivated, small internal shifts ripple outward. Stamina grows, focus sharpens, and resilience strengthens. Challenges that once felt overwhelming become manageable. Emotions that once dominated the mind can be observed and guided instead of reacting uncontrolled. Harnessing qi is not about instant results or dramatic feats. It is about learning patience, discipline, and sensitivity to the body's inner language. Over time, it becomes a wellspring of transformation, a silent current that shapes character, steadies intention, and empowers action. Through the cultivation of qi, the ordinary body and mind awaken to subtle capacities. Energy flows, awareness deepens, and the self aligns with the natural rhythm of life, revealing strength that is both enduring and profoundly transformative. In the heart of the temple, strength is never measured by how hard a hand can strike or how fast a foot can move. True mastery is revealed in the quiet choices, the subtle gestures, and the integrity that guides each action. A young monk once boasted of his skill in combat, yet his words were sharp and his temper quick. The elders watched silently, knowing that skill without virtue is like a sword without a hilt, dangerous, unstable, and empty of meaning. Shaolin teachings have long blended the wisdom of Confucian ethics with the depth of Buddhist insight. Humility tempers pride, compassion softens cruelty, honesty guides action. These are not abstract ideals, they are practical tools for navigating life and power. A practitioner who cultivates virtue learns to act with awareness of consequences, to measure the impact of strength on others, and to choose restraint over impulse. One day, a dispute arose between two students. One could have used force to dominate, yet he paused, remembering the lessons of character. Instead of striking, he spoke, listened, and guided the situation to resolution. That act of self-restraint, rooted in virtue, displayed mastery far beyond what physical skill could achieve. True chosen ones understand that strength without ethical grounding leads to imbalance. Their power is most potent when aligned with conscience. When action reflects both skill and wisdom, strength becomes a tool, not a weapon. Influence becomes a gift, not a burden. Character shapes the course of a life more than any battle ever could. It is forged in daily choices, in the way one treats the weak, honors the teacher, and carries responsibility. Mastery begins in the body, but it is perfected in the spirit. Only when virtue and strength move together does one embody the essence of Shaolin wisdom, power guided by principle and skill devoted to purpose. In the quiet of the training hall, shadows stretch long across the floor, and it is here that the most important battles are fought, not against an opponent, but within oneself. Every practitioner encounters fear, failure, and the hidden corners of the mind that they would rather ignore. One monk trembled at the thought of sparring with a senior student, not because of physical danger, but because of the fear of embarrassment and inadequacy. Shaolin wisdom teaches that fear is not the enemy. Denying it only allows it to grow unseen. Instead, one must face it directly, observe it, and understand its origin. Fear becomes a teacher, revealing where attachment, desire, or expectation has created tension. Each time the monk stepped forward despite trembling knees, he discovered a small victory. Courage is born not from absence of fear, but from moving through it. Failure is equally instructive. Early attempts at forms, meditation, or ritual often fell short. Movements were imprecise. Concentration wandered, the mind scattered. But failure is not shame. It is feedback. It reveals weakness, highlights areas for growth, and provides the opportunity to refine discipline and attention. One who learns from failure cultivates patience and humility, turning mistakes into stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. The shadows within, the anger, envy, and doubt, are the most subtle teachers. They are present when no one is watching, whispering doubts or pushing impulses. By observing these shadows without judgment, a practitioner builds resilience. Strength emerges from acceptance and understanding, not suppression. True self-mastery is forged in these silent encounters. It is the willingness to meet fear, to learn from failure, and to turn inward with honesty. In doing so, the inner world becomes steady, the mind clear, and the spirit capable of facing the outer challenges of life with calm, unwavering presence. The path of mastery is a journey inward as much as it is outward. The chosen ones are not defined by destiny, but by the responsibility they take for their own growth. By uniting body, mind, and spirit, by watching your thoughts without being swept away, and by balancing effort with mindful rest, you cultivate clarity, strength, and freedom. Directing your chi, owning your story, and living with virtue are not distant ideals. They are practices you can carry into each day in every action and choice. Remember, true power does not come from conquering others, but from understanding and mastering yourself. Small steps, repeated with intention, build resilience and transform ordinary moments into opportunities for growth. Every choice matters. Every action shapes your path, and every reflection brings you closer to your full potential. Carry these teachings gently but steadily into your life. Let them guide your presence, your discipline, and your inner peace. And as you walk this path, may each day bring a deeper sense of clarity, purpose, and calm. If this message resonates, support our journey by liking this video and subscribing to Shaolin Soulfire. Join us as we continue to explore the teachings, practices, and wisdom that awaken the power already within you.